22nd. Call the meeting to order. First item on the agenda is citizen comments. Do we have any comments? No? Seeing none, well, next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the June 27th, 2022 board meeting. We've had
Move for approval.
Okay, we have a motion for approval. Can we get a second, please? Got a motion and a second. All those in favor, aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The motion passes. All right, I'll slow down. I'm sorry. Next item on the agenda is the committee reports, and the first one is the Regional Transportation Council update. Chair Davis was not present at the meeting last week, so in his absence, I got to sit at the big board table. A couple items of interest to our group is one, Michael Morris provided informational update on regional van pools and stated that Trinity Metro is performing well with 141 van pools as of May the 22nd. So congratulations to Deetra and her team. So thank you. The next item that is of interest to us is that the RTC ratified and approved a $2 million move of RTC local funds to replace BNSF funds that were promised as part of the Build Grant project. And then the RTC, Michael Morris, will seek BNSF participation at a later date in the same amount. Support and approval for this item. So that will allow us to continue with the Build Grant, which was $25 million, I believe. Next item on the agenda is Commuter Rail Committee meeting report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We met on August the 15th, and since our last committee meeting, TexRail has continued seeing record-breaking ridership, with July coming in as our third highest. And likewise, we continue to meet customer expectations, with TexRail hitting 36 consecutive months, exceeding our OTP goal, and TRE reaching 29 consecutive months. Trinity Metro team is working on a strategic plan as part of our ridership initiative based upon the findings in our May 2022 market research overview. Another subject, our long-term parking, has been launched at 5 stations: T&P, Northside, Mercantile, Iron Horse, and Smithfield. And I will try to bring a report to you next month on the success of that project. As you recall, we've set aside 20 spots at each location, and we have a professional management team working on that. The team is working closely with our partners to ensure excellent equipment reliability. If you're on the list, you can see where the weather's really affected our train system, and we're still on a 30-minute schedule, so I think everything's working pretty well. And then the team is looking to transform TRE. The vision includes new equipment, reduced run times, adding Sunday service, and potentially express service multiple times per day. We have 3 items on the consent agenda: Trinity Metro Headquarters Design and Build, Trinity Railway Express, Trinity Lake Station Positive Train Control, and approval of Build, the grant sub-recipient agreement between Trinity Metro and the North Central Texas Council of Governments, North Texas COG. All those items are on the consent agenda. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Chair Evans. Next, we'll turn to Planning, Operations, and Marketing Committee report from Chairman Nettles.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, the Trinity Metro Planning, Operation, and Marketing Committee met on August the 15th, 2022. Wayne, the COO, and VIP, a bus and transit, provided the operation for KPI report. For their efforts in July, the team is still performing at a very well across all categories. We spent some time talking with Wayne in regards to Zip Zone. Programs included the existing state of the service, how we want to move forward, and how we want to approach increasing ridership. We're currently around 1 rider per car per hour and actively looking for ways to grow usage. Chad then Edwards met with us as well, VIP Planning and Development, walked through the committee through July ridership, highlighting the growth that we are seeing system-wide. We were 21% higher system-wide year over year in July. Chad also shared with the committee that in comparison to peers agency in Texas, our ridership is still recovering from the fastest in the state, which is really good. We are around 73% recovered, with the next closest agency being DART, who is 65% covered. The planning department reviewed their service standards with the committee members through presentation from Field Director of Planning, and Field shared valuable information regarding our services standards and outlined efforts to bring an updated policy back to the committee for their recommendations to the board. Deidre then came and spoke with us as well, the VIP of customer service, shared with the committee the great story behind the growth of our van pool program, which is now boost to 149 van pools and 954 participants. Deidre explained to us directly results of the outreach that her team and enterprise have done to share with the value of establishing a van pool. Lastly, Melissa spoke with us with the VIP Marketing and Communication to provide a report in the community packet about their efforts in July and report on their new paid advertising, which is a great tool. If you missed it, go back and watch it. Campaign increasing the awareness and increasing ridership that she put out in July. The campaign focused on matching memorable activities with the characteristics and characters with Trinity Metro names and service. The committee has recommended BA 2022-46 and BA 2022-49 for the board's approval. And that completes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Next, we'll turn to the Finance and Audit Committee, and we'll call on Chair Genoa, please.
Thank you, Tito. The Finance and Audit Committee also met on August the 15th, and while we were there, we started off with, for the first 9 months of fiscal year 22, ending in June, we are roughly $10.3 million over plan for total revenue. This is driven primarily by large increases in sales tax receipts and fare box collections. On the expense side, we are approximately $8.0 million less than planned, with favorable variances in insurance costs and certain personnel cost reductions. The balance sheet is in good shape. Moving on to the budget itself for fiscal 23. Revenue increase of $38.1 million is driven primarily by operating and capital grants. On the expense side, the increase will be $17.8 million, which is centered around salaries and benefits and purchase transportation, as well as various other expenses. Under CapEx, the $20.2 million increase is linked largely to TRE maintenance, the extension to the south side for Tex Rail, and the Trinity Lake Station. The preliminary plan will be submitted to member cities probably this week, I think, Wednesday maybe. We have one action item on the consent agenda. It's BA 2022-51, and that is FY 2023 preliminary operating and capital. And it has been recommended for approval by the Finance and Audit Committee. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Chair Genoa. Next, we'll turn to the consent agenda. And first of all, Board, are there any items on the consent agenda you choose to be withdrawn, that you'd like to have withdrawn? Seeing none, I'll call for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move we accept.
We have a motion. Can we get a second, please? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And the motion passes. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is information items, and we'll turn to Chad Edwards for information on the Forest Park train.
Hi, good afternoon. Chad Edwards, VP of Planning and Development. On on June 27th, a certain board member, Ben Robertson, asked about Forest Park train because he had read an article that said that Forest Park train may not exist anymore. And so with a little bit of work, I got a meeting with city Sandra Youngblood, who's Assistant Director in Parks and Rec, to Park and Recreation, excuse me, not Parks and Rec, to talk about the train. And so that was on July 6th. What I found out is that they still have a contract with Forest Park Rides, which is the overall organization of that, and that expires in October of 2026. So the city right now has gotten a lot of phone calls, as you can imagine, on, hey, what's going on with the train? We're interested in maybe partnering with you. Since those are private sector entities who want to participate in that train, and its continuation of service, what we've decided is that we'll let the city continue on in its path of exploring what those private sector options are before the public sector starts to get involved with that. So there's a lot of activity around this. So really, it's one of those things that it was put out in the news. People really kind of clamored onto it. I think partly because of what you had mentioned in your statement, Ben, about it has a lot of fond memories for people who grew up in this area and taking their kids or going as a kid. So I think they picked up on that and they want to continue that. So there's still momentum on it. We're there more as a support role at this point. And if things change over the next year to 4 years, then we'll see how we participate in it.
Awesome.
All right?
Thank you very much.
All right, sure.
It
Yes,
is
sir.
operating currently, right?
It's supposed to be operating, yes. I don't know that it's currently operating. We didn't get into that detail. What we did find out is that Forest Park Rides owns the easement, 2.5 mile easement there and back from the zoo through Trinity Park and back. They own the engines, the passenger cars, the railroad track, and they're permitted to sell food at that concession stand there. Yeah, so have I. So, yeah, so we're still exploring options on it. Okay? All right.
Any questions for Chad?
All right. Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the president's report.
So, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before I get into my prepared remarks, I just want to acknowledge the extraordinary rainfall that we had today. It seems that we had not nearly a drop of rain for months, and then all the rain at once. And that caused some delays on our rail and bus system today. Our team was out in force, monitoring, assisting. We had 14 bus detours this morning. We're down to just a few, perhaps none at this point. But the important thing to reflect on here is that everyone was safe, our workforce as well as our customers. We kept everyone safe. We took some delays on our rail system as well. We had some high water over the top of rail. Again, our team was out monitoring the situation, so all is well that ends well. Just thanks to the team for your efforts.
As you're new to the area, let me let you know that this is normal. Welcome. We like to do things over the top and in quick bursts.
Let me ask you a question too. And this may be addressed to AJ and Wayne. So if we have an extended period of time where we are incurring, on-time performance or whatever, something like this, I mean, does that affect our relationship with the government as far as funding and things like that?
Yeah, sure, I could take that. So the on-time performance, the delays that we incur today go into the total monthly and annual score. So will not likely have a great impact on the,
Yeah, today, but I'm saying if this goes on for another week.
generally speaking. If we had sustained on-time performance issues, it could become a discussion topic with the Federal Transit Administration. But certainly they would understand, I'm not speaking for them, but when it comes to weather, those are explainable. Typically, where we have issues is if we had controllable delays. So delays because we didn't maintain the fleet, for example, that would be a problem.
I got you.
Yep.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
Okay. Now to my prepared remarks. Good afternoon, Chairman, board members, and Trinity Metro staff and members of the public. We are continuing to make great progress from historic ridership lows in 2020. The path to rebuilding ridership begins with running safe, efficient, and customer-friendly services. Our key performance indicators, our KPIs, show we are doing just that. System-wide ridership is up 30% year over year, 20% on bus, and 84% on TexRail. When we look at all major public transportation agencies across Texas, we are leading the pack far and away. Today, ridership stands at nearly 73% of pre-COVID levels. This is a remarkable turnaround in such a short time, and it is a credit to our entire Trinity Metro team. Looking ahead, we expect new partnerships will help sustain recent ridership gains. Antonio Pasamonte, Antonio, I think you're in the audience. You want to wave? Okay. Antonio's our new business and community outreach manager. He has negotiated 13 new Easy Ride agreements, and this is only in 9 weeks, by the way. 13 new Easy Ride agreements with Fort Worth Zoo, Mesa Airlines, Access to Care, Cancer Care Services, among others. These agreements provide discounted transit passes to partner organizations for a negotiated fee. The new Easy Ride interlocal agreement with Fort Worth ISD, is a board action item today, is a milestone in the Easy Ride program. Up to 200 students from across the Fort Worth Independent School District will have an opportunity to use Trinity Metro services to travel to and from school each day. These students will benefit immediately and may become lifelong users of public transportation. We are also convening a 30-day internal task force to identify other opportunities to build ridership. Our leadership team has nominated staff from every department of Trinity Metro to come up with their own ideas. You'll be hearing more about their efforts next month. Beyond ridership, we are in the early stages of looking at the future of Trinity Metro. We know a few things. The population of Tarrant County will continue to grow for the foreseeable future, and demand for public transportation is increasing. But there are many questions to be answered. What services do we want to provide? What areas of Tarrant County and beyond will be served? How do we fund our services in the long term? And what can we do to be even more customer-focused? We are just beginning what will be a multi-year journey with our stakeholders to envision an even better Trinity Metro. I want to thank 3 very important stakeholders, Mayor Matty Parker, Mayor William Tate, and Mayor Oscar Trevino for their warm welcome last week at a gathering in Grapevine. Our board and executive leadership team had an opportunity to hear from the mayors who have embraced Trinity Metro. Investments such as TexRail have produced substantial dividends for their cities. You need look no further than the development taking place around Fort Worth Central Station, Grapevine Station, and North Richland Hills Iron Horse Station. We are fortunate to have leaders with vision, and we will be looking to their ideas going forward. Also, I would like to express my special appreciation to board member Paul Schlechter for organizing this event. Thanks, Paul.
Every month. Did you hear that? It's in the record, too.
And finally, it goes without saying that the customer experience is central to everything we do. With 3 of 4 Trinity Metro riders using bus service, we are pleased to announce our annual bus stop cleanup day on Saturday, October 22nd. I invite all of you, my fellow board members and members of the audience, to join me and our executive leadership team for a morning of fun and public service. And see, please, Deetra Whitmore, our VP of Customer Experience, to sign up. Deetra, can you raise your hand? We all know you, but just in case. And if you sign up, we'll supply the gear. And with that, Mr. Chairman, this concludes my remarks.
Thank you very much. Yes.
If I can address this to Wayne, when we were talking about bringing ISD on board, we were talking about one of the benefits would be that kids could do after school things that today they normally can't do. Was that part of the discussion? I know it's pretty premature, but.
Well, all along in the conversation,
Yes, good.
great question. I think all along from the very beginning when we were talking to the ISD about joining our program, this is going back probably 3 years, we did talk about service all day long, and that includes after-school activities. So if there is a need and they can meet on our bus, train, or even zip zone, for example, then they'll be able to utilize that. In fact, we were just talking a little bit about it in a meeting we just had about 30 minutes before our meeting here, and talked about that exact issue, is how do we get vehicles in if they're releasing? And so there'll be some mechanics we'll have to work out, but yes, should be able to do that.
That's just icing on the cake.
Truly is.
Enable these kids to participate and then have a ride.
And maybe remove a few cars that are parked out there in the evening.
It's good, thank you.
Thank
And also, if I may, I'd like to thank Rich, Wayne, Chad, and Steve for participating in our first quarterly Tank County and Trinity Metro meeting. And we hadn't had it since COVID started with Judge Whitty and Commissioner Quick. I know they appreciated us coming over and safely continue to build that partnership.
Our pleasure.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, next item on the agenda is the chair report. Our chair is absent today, so we have no report. Any other business that you would like to discuss?
Two things I was just wanting to know about. I think we finished what day was that we had? A little opening for, grand opening of the airport for, Tech Trail, was it January, December 31st? 2019.
Oh, January 19th.
Okay, you know, we were supposed to get this thing going to the hospital. I still haven't heard anything about the hospital. It's been 3 years. Is somebody standing in our way or what?
Chad, would you like to take that?
Are you talking about the hospital district? That's our Tech Trail extension project that we're working on. We're actively working on that. We have 30% design, environmental engineering, or environmental clearance at this point. Later this week, we're going to release a project management consultant request for proposals so we can manage this project. And then we'll start final design next year. And it'll be open by the end of 2026. So it's a 2-mile extension.
Just making sure there's not somebody making waves down there that, you know, they don't want us using a railroad track or,
Well, we're working through that.
let's build a bridge.
We're working through that. It's funded, it's fully funded, and we have agreements with Fort Worth and Western, Union Pacific, and Baylor Scott and White right now to do the work.
That was the first part. Second part is, I don't know, maybe I don't know if anybody's got together and thought about this. I've been thinking about this a lot because there's a lot of money in Austin right now. They got surplus. They got so much, they don't know what the 31.6 billion is the last thing I heard. Does the transportation group, do we have a group like DART for Trinity Metro, Denton, Houston, San Antonio, Austin? Can we all get those groups together and get a group going to be able to go to Austin? Because I'm gonna tell you, you won't get nothing out of Austin unless it's just like a squeaking wheel. The squeaking wheel gonna get some grease, but if it ain't squeaking, and that's what I was, you know, at least if we could get some kind of committee down there, because that thing's gonna start January 14th or sometime in that area. You know, they need to be on, they got a lot of problems in the next 30 years that they need to adjust with, and one of them is electrical grid.
So we will take that as a charge to have an internal conversation right away on that and see what we come up with.
I mean, you know, if you need me, I've been to Austin a lot in the last 10 years, and, you know, they get a big kick out of me coming down there because
looks like Steve may, are you coming to the podium, Steve, or? All right.
So that's a great question. Yes, we do work with our peer agencies around the state, DART, Houston, San Antonio, and Austin, part of the Texas Transit Association. And we do look for funding opportunities, like you said, unprecedented times in Austin in terms of revenue and available funds. They'll probably start with some property tax rebates or relief statewide would be my expectations, but there's still going to be a huge amount of money available. They typically don't fund MPAs like us because we have a local property tax or local sales tax revenue stream. But yes, we are asking and we're seeking funds for capital projects and other operational dollars working as a coalition. So we're going to bring back next month, as requested by Ms. Ayala, our legislative agenda that we're going to be pushing forward with our delegation for the next session.
Well, do we have somebody that goes down there, you know?
Me?
Yes, sir.
They're gonna, just like I always said, if you don't squeal and holler,
I can be the world's biggest pest, trust me.
you won't get any grease.
That's right. I agree completely.
Yeah, Steve, I mean, if you had to rub your tummy, you think they would be more receptive to public transit in Austin?
They're never very receptive to public transit in Austin.
What are they waiting for?
Good question. But that doesn't mean we don't have a lot of friends and allies in Austin that do help us, so.
Well, to your point and to Alan's point, if there's anything that this board can do via signature or calls or email on behalf of our community, that's part of our charge in these positions that we've been appointed to.
Absolutely.
And we're more than happy to support. I know that you can be very loud and squeaky, so I'm not worried about our representation, but if we can help support that, that's what we're here for.
Absolutely, and I will call upon your help to activate some of our local delegation on some of these issues.
I'll help any way you need me. I've been down there several times before because I was trying to get a water company away from a for-profit water company in the last 10 years. I got that water company away, but it took quite a few trips to Austin. So I know the ins and outs down there.
We need you down there. Tito and I have been carrying the torch, and I'll take you with me.
I will go with you. I'll show you some.
And I will compliment Steve, and last year we took a P3 bill to the House and to the Senate, and Steve, very impressed with Steve. He's worked in the legislature before. He knows the players. He knows the legislators, obviously, but more importantly, he knows the staff. And I've worked as a staffer. Steve has also, and you know that if you want to get anything done, you work with the staffers before you get to the legislature. So thank you, Steve, for all you do.
Yes,
for us
sir.
down there. I mean, he's got his ear down there.
Before you move on, Mr. Chairman, there were a couple initiatives that we talked about last year that we haven't really had a current report on. One, I believe, was a change in our charter at the state level where we would be on par with what Dallas is doing in our ability to borrow money. So I'd like to hear a report on our progress on that, our plans for that. And the second was TxDOT is, excuse me, TxDOT's designated a one person in each district. You and I talked about that.
Yes, sir.
And I'd like to hear a report on what we're doing with TxDOT.
You bet. Absolutely. We'll bring that as part of our legislative agenda for next time.
So maybe, Mr. Chairman, we could get a report on our current status before the legislature reconvenes at some point.
You bet.
TxDOT's always been good at saying no. And it took many years for them to, turn us around to where we were saying yes. But they still say no a lot more than they say yes.
Agreed.
Thank you, Steve.
Tito, just a couple of things, 3 things to be exact, much more fun than all of that. But, so 3 things. I want to just name for the board and for staff that Trinity Metro has been part of Revolution for many years, and our annual conference is coming up at the end of October. So I'm just going to tell you to put a pin in that, and you can circle back to it later, those of you who have interest in attending. It's going to be an absolutely phenomenal conference. I know because I'm on the steering committee. It's going to be in Miami. Yes. Miami in October is incredible. So October 30th, I think, through November 2nd. So just look for more information for that. I also want to make a public, and maybe this has already been said or done at some point, I've missed a couple of meetings, but want to publicly thank Deetra for her leadership with the board's diversity and inclusion training. I was not able to attend because I was out of town, but I have heard from more than one person that you did an absolutely incredible job. So thank you for being responsive. Thank you for leading this effort. It's so important. And I appreciate it. Appreciate you. Thank you. And last but not least, this may have also been said at some point because I missed a couple of meetings. But I recognize that change is difficult and change is hard, and we have experienced some significant change over the past few months at Trinity Metro with our new leader. And I want to say to senior staff particularly, because you all are the ones that I interface with most, that your professionalism and fierce optimism with Rich's onboarding and him joining our team has just, like, it's not lost on me that this was a big deal. And as I've listened to you welcome him, and as I've listened to you express your hopes and your excitement about his leadership, I just think, like, y'all are a class act. And I appreciate the way that you all have handled the transition and appreciate the way you all have just stepped up and been the leaders in the organization that you've been.
Great point, Charlotte. Let's give him a round of applause. Charlotte. Anything else? Anyone else?
Probably Ben, of course.
All right, bus stop cleanup day. Let me just throw this challenge out to the board.
Your name pre-written.
There you go. So my daughter adopted a bus stop a few months back. We are cleaning up some of the bus stops on the east side. If any of this board wants to join us or join our local outreach group, TTA, that is also putting together a team, I will buy some IHOP for my board members if you come show up with me on the east side. So I'm just saying, trash cleanup and pancakes, I got you. So there, we'll figure it out. I'll feed you, Tito. All right. It's going to be a good day.
Thank you.
Saturday, October 27th.
Anyone else? Okay. Now we'll go on to, we had executive session. We did not have any items to discuss in executive session. So then we'll move on to our next meeting will be held at 801 Grove Street, Fort Worth, 76102 on September the 26th, 2022 at 3:30 p.m. Sorry, I forgot my glasses. And any other items for discussion? If not, we stand adjourned. Thank you.